At 3:18 hours local time, deep inside occupied Donetsk, something Russia believed was invisible was already burning. There was no warning, no sirens, no scramble. Just a sequence of silent impacts tearing through one of the most protected and most valuable nodes in Russia's entire drone warfare network. This wasn't a frontline strike. This wasn't a random hit. This was Rubicon, and Ukraine had just found it. For months, Russian commanders believed this facility was untouchable. Buried inside occupied territory, shielded by layered air defenses, electronic warfare coverage, and operational secrecy, Rubicon wasn't just another base. It was the brain. A classified command center responsible for coordinating drone warfare across Donetsk. A hub where targeting data was processed, where operators were trained, where strike missions were launched against Ukrainian positions, logistics, and air defenses. This was where Russia refined its drone war. And at 3:18, Ukraine erased it. The first drone approached at low altitude, flying a pre-programmed corridor that had already been mapped hours earlier. It emitted nothing. No signal, no active guidance. Just passive navigation through a corridor carved out of Russian radar blind spots. Impact. The building didn't collapse immediately. It didn't need to. The strike landed exactly where it was supposed to, on infrastructure, not structure. Power, communications, coordination nodes. Then came the second drone. Same building, same angle, same target box. This wasn't a hit. This was sequencing. A third drone followed, this time targeting an adjacent structure. Then a fourth, then a fifth. Each one assigned to a different part of the complex. Operators, servers, relay systems, everything that turned Rubicon from a group of soldiers into a functioning combat system. Gone, piece by piece. Within minutes, the facility wasn't just damaged, it was collapsing operationally. And that collapse had already been calculated long before the first strike. Hours earlier, Ukrainian ISR had built the target. Satellite imagery layered with thermal signatures, movement tracking, electronic emissions, data from resistance cells operating inside occupied Donetsk. Every structure was mapped, every system categorized, every priority assigned. This wasn't a strike package, this was execution logic. And Rubicon was already inside it. Because Rubicon wasn't just another unit. It was Russia's answer to Ukraine's drone dominance. An elite formation, centralized, scaled, designed to turn fragmented drone operations into a coordinated strike machine. Between early 2025 and late 2025, Rubicon's operational output exploded from just over 500 confirmed strikes per month to more than 2,000. Logistics hubs, radar systems, drone operators, everything became a target. Rubicon hunted the hunters. Until now. Because what Ukraine hit that night wasn't just infrastructure, it was capability. The control element, destroyed. The coordination center, disabled. The operators, disrupted. And with that, Russia lost its most dangerous drone node in Donetsk. But this wasn't just about destruction. It was about timing. Because the moment Rubicon's command structure collapsed, everything downstream broke with it. Strike missions failed to launch. Targeting cycles were interrupted. Units in the field lost coordination. And for the first time in months, pressure on Ukrainian positions dropped. Not because Russia stopped attacking, but because its system stopped functioning. And that's what made this strike different. This wasn't attrition, this was decapitation. But Rubicon's collapse didn't happen in isolation. It was already weakening from the inside. Weeks before the strike, one of its operators defected. A trained drone specialist, pulled into the system through coercion, forced into a role he never chose, then pushed to the front line when he tried to escape. He didn't fight, he ran. 10 kilometers on foot through active combat terrain, reaching Ukrainian lines and surrendering through the "I want to live" channel. And what he revealed confirmed everything. Fatigue, coercion, breakdown. Rubicon wasn't just under pressure from the outside, it was cracking internally. And Ukraine knew it, because this wasn't just a strike, It was part of a larger shift, a new layer in Ukraine's drone war. For years, the battlefield had been divided into two zones. Frontline, dominated by FPV drones. Deep strike, handled by long-range systems hitting targets inside Russia. But there was a gap, 30 to 100 kilometers behind the front, the near rear, where Russia placed its most valuable assets. Command posts, drone hubs, logistics nodes, protected by distance, electronic warfare, and limited exposure. Until now. Because what hit Rubicon that night was a middle strike drone, a system designed specifically for that gap. Longer range than FPVs, cheaper and more scalable than deep strike platforms, precise enough to hit classified facilities, and deployable in swarms. Ukraine didn't just close the gap, it weaponized it, and the numbers proved it. By mid-March, Ukraine had already conducted 40 major mid- and long-range drone attacks, reaching targets between 50 and 250 kilometers away. By the end of the month, that number was projected to exceed 80, more than a 50% increase over previous records. Swarm sizes had doubled, from 50 to 70 drones, to 100 to 200 per strike. This wasn't adaptation, this was escalation, and Rubicon was the first major system to break under it, but not the last. Because 2 days before the Rubicon strike, Ukraine hit something else. Something deeper, much deeper. At 2:40 hours, in Russia's Ulyanovsk region, 800 kilometers from the front, Ukrainian drones crossed into airspace that was never supposed to be contested. Their target, the Aviastar aircraft plant, a critical facility responsible for producing Il-76 MD-90A transport aircraft, Il-78 M90A aerial refueling tankers, and components tied to Russia's heavy airlift capability. The drones didn't hit randomly. They hit parking zones, assembly areas, aircraft positioned for maintenance and integration. The effect wasn't just damage, it was disruption. Production slowed, repair cycles halted, and assets already under strain stopped moving. Then, less than 24 hours later, another strike, this time in Novgorod. The 123rd Aircraft Repair Plant, a facility responsible for full-cycle maintenance and modernization of transport aircraft. Runways, hangars, servicing infrastructure, all hit, all burning, and just like that, Russia's aviation support chain fractured. Because this wasn't about destroying planes, it was about stopping them from ever flying again. No repairs, no upgrades, no turnaround. Aircraft grounded, logistics delayed, supply chains stretched, and across the front. That delay translated into something far more dangerous: exposure, units waiting for resupply, reinforcements arriving late, operations launched without full support. And every gap became a target. Because Ukraine wasn't just attacking assets anymore, it was attacking time, and Russia was running out of it. Because while these strikes were unfolding, another trend was accelerating. Russian aircraft losses. Over 400 planes, more than 300 helicopters, billions in losses, and increasing reliance on standoff tactics. Launching glide bombs and missiles from distance, because getting closer meant destruction. But now, distance wasn't safe either, because Ukraine had extended its reach, and everything inside that reach was vulnerable. Rubicon proved it in Donetsk. Aviastar proved it in Ulyanovsk. The repair plant proved it in Novgorod. 3 layers, one pattern: find, fix, strike, and repeat. Because what Ukraine has built isn't just a drone force, it's a system. ISR feeding targeting, drones executing strikes, data returning in real time, every mission refining the next, every strike improving accuracy, every success expanding reach. And now, Russia is inside that loop, with fewer defenses, fewer assets, and fewer options. Back in Donetsk, the fires at the Rubicon facility were still burning. Drone footage continued to circle overhead, feeding live data back to Ukrainian command. Damage zones, surviving structures, movement patterns, everything tracked, everything recorded. Because this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the next cycle. Because Rubicon wasn't just destroyed, it was mapped. And wherever it tries to reappear, Ukraine will be waiting, because now there are no hidden bases, no protected corridors, no safe distances, only targets and a system designed to find them.